Welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how you can perform a one sample Z test using SPSS somewhat. I'm saying somewhat because I will be using the compute variable option. There are other videos from other people who actually do this by using SPSS syntax. So if you're interested in that, watch their videos. There are actually two variations for this, and one scenario is when you actually don't have the population standard deviation and you're using the sample standard deviation, and one where you do know the population standard deviation or variance. The first one, if you use the sample standard deviation, then the t statistic is actually the same as the z statistic. So I can then actually obtain a z statistic by calculating the one sample t-test, and I'll be using age as an example, and let's say 23 as the test value. Click on OK, and in the output there is the t statistic over here. I double click again, and then copy, close this, and in a separate file I'll simply have one where I actually already pasted it. I can paste it again, and as you can see, all the decimals are there. I can then use transform compute variable, and let's do the target variable is then the p-value two-sided. So what I'm going to do is 2 times, and then between brackets 1 minus, there's the minus, and then I need the normal distribution, the cumulative density function, and that's hidden over here. This requires the absolute values. Let's go for all, and then ABS should be somewhere. Absolute value, you can also just type it in, of that t statistic. And actually, because it's a standard normal distribution, I can use as a mean a 0 and as a standard deviation 1. And this should now give me the two-tailed significance. Click on OK, yes, because I already made that one. Here nothing really changed, but in my output I now nicely have the p-value 0.52. That's above the usual 0.05 threshold, so usually we would then consider this not significant. For the other version, if you do know the population standard deviation and you really want to use that, what you can fill out is the sample mean. So again, I can just use this one here, the one sample statistic, copy, and then paste that as my sample mean. Then I go back to that same for also the standard deviation. Let's say the population standard deviation was actually that sample one. I have a separate video where you can actually calculate population standard deviations with SPSS. My hypothesized median was 23, and the sample size, I can quickly check from the output again, it was here 44. So I can just type in 44. Now it's a little bit more complicated with the transform compute variable, but it can still be done. What we need is 2 times 1 minus the normal, and then we actually need, we don't have a t statistic. What we do actually have is a difference between the sample mean minus the hypothesized mean. The mean is then actually 0 because it's about the difference between these two, and this one is now the standard deviation is actually the standard error. So what we need to do is, what we can do is we can simply say, well, that's going to be the population standard deviation divided by, and then we need the square root, so let's put brackets around it, the square root of the sample size. So let's do n, and square root is the same as raising it to the power of a half, and this is the twice asterisk is raising to a power of a half. And now if we let's call this then the P2, click on OK, change the existing one, and as you can see we get the exact same result again as we saw over here. Alright, that's it. I hope this video was helpful, and thank you for watching.